All right, yay.
Hi.
Okay, there we go. How are you? We just start talking.
Hey, Karla, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Sorry about the dogs barking in the back. Apparently, I have active neighbors today.
Don't worry about it as long as we have everything going on right now after trying to figure this all out. Oh, okay. So today we are going to discuss some of the all the clairs we're going to talk about. And let's see. All right, there we go. There we go. Are we there?
Yes.
I had a little bit of a flub here. And I always have to remember to turn things off, and I have to remember that. But anyway, so today it's Grace and I, and we're going to start talking about the psychic abilities, the clairs, whether we have Reiki, mediumship, trance channeling, and also we talked about the aura vision. That was one of the ones, correct? Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Cool. And I think what we're really going to go into right now is go into what they are. And we're just going to have a list of the things that exist out there. And a lot of people have questions. Sometimes they have questions of thinking, because we do see other psychics on, and sometimes they think that's the only psychic ability they have. But when you end up starting doing psychic abilities, you start picking up all kinds. You might have your main one, but depending on, I think, the person and the situation, you'll pick up something else. So we're going to go over those. Crystal, go ahead and start with maybe the list of things you have, and
Sure.
we'll talk about those.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that beginning. One of the things we want to do is, as the world is changing and people are starting to open up, their consciousness is evolving, they're becoming more awake and aware of all the circumstances around them. And as they become more in tune with their body, with themselves, perhaps even their inner child, they start to build a new relationship of communication with themselves, and also a new relationship of communication with the spirit realm. And so, we're hoping to reach out to folks who are, maybe new to this path, but also people who have been on it a long time, because it's very rare when someone ever hands you a piece of paper that says, hey, here's what all your psychic abilities could be. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the goal here, is to really help give you a clear definition of the different types of psychic senses that you could be experiencing, just with the full knowledge that they could be intermittent. So you may have one for a period of time, you may have several at the same time. As Karla mentioned earlier, you might have one of these abilities very dominantly and some of the others in a more subtle capacity. And so it's going to be a little bit, hopefully not too dry for you folks, because I literally have a piece of paper that I want to read these definitions off to you.
Yes.
And then Karla and I will be talking a little bit about, how they're useful to us, how we work with it, how we experience it. But we'd also like to find a way to provide this information where you can maybe print it off as well. So Karla will work on that piece. Thank you,
I'm
Karla.
going to try my best with my technical abilities. Maybe
Oh
a
my
little
gosh.
slow on the draw on that.
So the one that we think of all the time is clairvoyance. When people say I'm a psychic, people typically go to clairvoyance. Clairvoyance literally means clear vision. This is the ability that the bearer can outstretch themselves into another vibration. They visually discern, recognize, and identify objects, images, symbols, and or feelings. They are best served not to interpret these sights, but rather to describe what they're seeing to their receiver or their client. Clairvoyants see with their mind's eye, not their physical eyes. They have an inner sight which assists them to understand and comprehend that which exceeds the restrictions of normal time and space.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting one. And sometimes they call it like what is it? A type of charade. Because that's kind of how it is. You're describing what you're seeing, and it's like, okay, we got, what did they call it? It was a funny term. But yeah, it's like charades almost.
Mhm.
You're describing it. Different
Yeah.
items, different things, different, somebody might come up, and I had somebody show me a bunch of little kangaroos. And instead of that psychic site saying, oh, it's Australia, when I was doing this reading, she goes, you know what, I'm from Australia. And she has no accent, so I wouldn't have known. But I'm like, what's with the kangaroos? There's little things that happen like that. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Right. That's a perfect description, because you don't always know why you're seeing what you're seeing. I remember reading a while back where I had told one of my clients, she was asking about her love life, and I said, I keep seeing a wreath, a wreath. And a wreath could mean many things, but it turned out she met him right around Christmas. So it was a Christmas wreath, I guess. So
yeah,
yes, those type of things, like not necessarily putting your own inference upon what it is that you're seeing, but describing that to the person you're working with, it's going to have a meaning to them that it might not to you. So that's good that we put that in there. The second one in here is clairaudience. Clairaudience literally means clear hearing. This ability allows the user to recognize and comprehend words, sounds, voices, and unusual noises. They hear with their inner ear, not their physical ears, in most cases. Some who are clairaudient actually hear the voices of spirit beings from other dimensions. Information and knowledge regarding the past, the present, and the future can be heard by clairaudience.
that is pretty cool though. I wish I had that ability, but then sometimes they say, no, you may not want to wish to have that ability. There's certain abilities I think they give to us for some reason, and some others they don't. The only time I get the clairaudience coming through is when it's a warning, and I've had it twice. And
Okay.
it's Karla, just like straight out. And I'm like, oh, now I get what that means. Something's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people have it. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it is definitely a fascinating one. I've had that one all my life, as I've had clairvoyance all my life. The clairaudience, it is always there. So, but for me, it almost seems like it comes in, like you said, volumes. So if you're picking up the warnings, they're coming through really loud. And
Yeah.
so over time, with working with this ability, the loud stuff you might get right away. So for you personally, it may even expand out because you're honoring it. And so you might start getting the softer messages and softer messages.
Yeah.
And so it may change for you or expand for you. But yes, I've actually been able to hear all my life. I'm not sure that I would say it's my dominant ability, but it's one of my more dominant abilities.
Okay. Okay. That's
So
pretty cool. So now I know
uh,
clairaudience almost. Ah,
yeah, so it's kind of an interesting choice that we all get with things we get to experience down here.
yeah.
And I had an almost car accident when I was 17 or 18 years old. And like you, a warning came in. I literally heard, get in the right-hand lane right now. And I was on a highway where the rain was pouring down so bad that on the highway, I could only go 35. And I had listened to the voice, moved to the right lane. And sure enough, someone had come speeding up that middle lane that I was in, did a major hydroplane 360, another 360, and then ended up on the embankment on the other side of the highway.
Whoa.
So thank God I had moved out the way. So that was absolutely, warnings can come in very, very loud. Even if you're not clairaudient per se, sometimes warnings will come in just for everyday people that are not really paying as much attention to their intuitive abilities. It can be there. Typically it's your guardian angel screaming at you, but it could be, other beings of light as well, angels that follow you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's a point, people. Make sure when you hear that, listen. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. The next ability on here is clairsentience. literally means clear sensing or clear feeling. Clairsentients gather and discern information about a person, place, or thing by just feeling certain sensations within their body, without another separate stimulus or impulse connected and associated to the feeling or information being perceived. So
And
there
what do you
wouldn't be anything else influencing it. Does that make sense?
Right. And I feel like the typical ones with the clairsentience is actually what they call like a chilling feeling, which is not like a chill, like a cold chill, but it has that weird vibrationally tingling thing going on. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a start once people start doing that. Okay. What do we have for
Yeah.
the
In
oh that's
Sedona, we have this little saying, this area where we call it goosebumps, truth bumps, right? So when you speak the truth, you kind of get these little chills on your body as you're speaking the
ah,
truth. So if you've not heard that, that's kind of one that's rather colloquial for this area.
really?
Yeah,
That's a new one. I like that. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, because that makes a lot of sense lately. Okay, go ahead.
that's cool. So the next one is called claircognizance. Claircognizance literally means clear knowing.
Yes.
This is the psychic ability where you just know information about a certain person, place, or thing without hearing, seeing, or feeling it. You just simply know. It is an instant information which literally pops into your head and you have no idea where it came from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, too, with that people sometimes, especially people that are just beginning, I feel like we feel like, am I kind of going crazy? Is there something it popped in my mind? Is that right? Is that true? Am I, second guessing ourselves, right? And that's one of the beginnings of it. So
Mhm.
yeah, second guessing, don't try not to. It can be a little bit scary because we get into that I don't want to be wrong thing, you know?
Right.
So that's one of those. Okay, we'll keep going.
Okay. The next one is called clair empathy. And clair empathy literally means clear emotion. People who have this ability are called empaths, and they have the ability to adjust and attune to the emotions of those around them, be it a person's or an animal's.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking to clair empaths can help you to gain clarity about what you are feeling and why you're feeling it. They can help you with discerning which emotion might be dominant or which emotion might carry the most intensity or weight.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about that too, because a lot of people ask about if they say they're empathic or how, and we'll talk about like how they're able to use it in a sense, because I think there's a lot of not miscommunication, but not enough clarity on an empath and like kind of what their role is, if that makes sense.
Well, I think the biggest gift with clair empaths is what I described in here about ascertaining what emotions are going on. So, for example, I'm trying to think back maybe 20 years. There was a relationship I was in that had broken apart. And when it broke apart, one of the best things that I did for myself was a tool where I kind of wrote down each one of the emotions I was feeling. Because when there's so many of them clustered together, like if you've had a trauma or a really big emotional experience in your life, getting married is highly emotional, getting divorced is highly emotional, moving, starting a job, ending a job, the loss of a loved one, a loss of a pet. These are all some of the psychologists say the top 10 stressors, right? So when that's happening, it's not necessarily one emotion that you're feeling. You can feel confusion and excitement at the same time. You can almost kind of feel happy and sad at the same time. So having a friend or going to someone that is a clair empath would help you to know, you've got a lot of things going on in there, help you kind of discern out how many are there and then which one is the most dominant emotion. So,
Huh.
maybe working with them in order in which they are of intensity, so doing that, and I think I didn't really realize early on that I was a clair empath, even though I've always had it. But in my conversations with just my girlfriends, just talking about life, here they're telling me about a situation. I said, wow, it really feels like this to me. Is that accurate? And they would be like blown away with just how accurate it was, because I was able to tell them better how they were feeling than they could even do themselves. And it seemed like I was just helping a friend in conversation. And it was years until I realized this was Claire empathy. And that, you know, as an intuitive, you can really kind of hone in to the different emotions, because it's a frequency like everything else. When you hear, that's a frequency. Your clairvoyance, it's a frequency. All of these are frequencies. So feelings, you know, all have a frequency. So if you can hone into each frequency, you'll know what it is that that person's experiencing.
Okay. All right. I like that. That clears that up. That clears that up. No, I like that. All right. What do we have on the next, Claire?
Okay, the next one is clairkinesthesia, which literally means clear touching. This is more commonly known as psychometry. This is the ability which allows the bearer to gather information and details about a certain place, person, or thing by touching it. They are able to ascertain a history of what occurred and why. So you might see this on some of these TV shows where they bring a psychic in to help, you know, the detective department, and they hand them a picture or a piece of cloth from someone's shirt. And then now all of this information starts coming in. So that is probably the best example I can give you of clairkinesthesia.
And I feel like they use a lot of that on film as movies, but I think it kind of adds to the thing. But yeah, I only know of one person who mentioned that they had, when they, with their abilities, had started it, but it freaked people out so much that they stopped doing it. And even when they touch their hands, that kind of stuff. That's fascinating to me too. But then I think, do I want to get into that deep? But you know.
Well, and when that stuff happens, you bring up a really good point, because if something starts happening to you, then A, you don't know what it is, or it's maybe too much for you or too much for the person you're delivering it to. You have the ability to, in your prayers, you know, say to God, hey, I really love this ability, but can you slow down my the intake? You can ask like that flow of energy. You can ask for that to kind of come into you a little bit less intense or a little bit slowed down, so that you can process it and get used to that frequency. So you can ask for that in your prayers. The other thing you can ask for is, you know, hey, God, if I'm going to work with people using these intuitive abilities, can you please put in front of me only people who are ready to really receive this information? Because if you're getting people that are freaked out because they're just randomly there and you're getting information on them and just providing it, they may not be ready for it. But if you are doing this, you know, in your work or a little more in your life, you know, then maybe you can just put that in your prayers. Hey, God, can you please just bring before me the people that are ready to receive this, can receive this, will receive this well, so that you are also by turn more comfortable as you explore your gifts and abilities, and as they continue to expand out for you.
Got it. Perfect.
Good
And
point.
then we will go over something about prayers and stuff, I think, in the next one, because that's another thing people ask about that. And it's just in my brain. Okay. All right. What do we have next?
The next one is clairolfaction. This literally means clear smelling. This is the ability that presents odors, fragrances, and scents which are not physically present. They do not use their physical nose when accessing this ability. There are also some psychics that can smell the scent of your spirit.
Really?
Yes, I had this ability for a short period of time in my teenage years, and then it went away and it's never come back. But I specifically do remember walking, I was at a grocery store in the line, you know, checkout line, and the woman in front of me, this smell of rosemary kept wafting over me. And I was like, that is a really good person. Like I could just tell by the scent that this was a loving, kind, you know, good intended person. So yes, I had that for a short time, never came back. I don't know.
Do you think that maybe too, because I wonder when they start us with these certain abilities, that helps you you know, it's like, okay, this is what we're going to show you. Like you said, Rosemary was just like a good person. Like
Yeah,
how, you know what I mean? Like they get you in that place to start there or just start anywhere. But it's kind
sure.
of cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
Again, I think they just again throw us different beginning stages of things.
Well, do you get that in your mediumship? Because you are a medium. So when you're reading people, do you ever have the scent kind of come in of a certain person? Or
The
do you have a certain scent that just comes in and it means something to the person you're talking to?
It's interesting because the only time I get sense, I'm trying to think of, well, I had one recently, but that's kind of a weird story. But it had to do with a family member and something that they had going on, and the scent came, and I was like, I know what you are. It was a what I know who you are kind of thing. But that was a whole thing. That and when my father passed, it was his sense of his dragon on the wall, but not really. I don't get the sense ones that often.
Yeah. I only get them pretty rarely. When my grandmother, who's passed, when she comes to visit me, I always smell lilies of the valley. And that's because she had lilies of the valley out the front of her house, and she would leave the front door open and that smell would come into her house.
Yeah.
And so whenever I smell that, I know she's around.
Yep. And it's usually that's pretty common with people, past loved ones of family members. There seem to be a
Yep.
very, very a lot of people have that. A lot of people.
Yeah.
So that, that's cool. Hopefully we'll find some people that actually have that as an ability. They just that's their thing, like their dominant one. I would love to see what that's like.
Yeah.
So next one, we have the touch, we have the psychic knowing. Did we hit all of them?
Nope. We're on to clairgustance. So
Yes. Okay.
clairgustance literally means clear tasting. This ability allows the bearer to taste something without food or liquid in their mouth. The secondary way in which clairgustance is used is as a deep sensation that we refer to as gut feelings. This is a very base level sense of something being right on or something which is very off. So it's bringing something to your attention, gut feelings.
Yeah, gut feelings. I'm just wondering what too, as far as the psychic tasting and the gut feeling is there. Oh, duh, stomach. I just thought about it right now. Tasting stomach. There's something about I don't. It wouldn't be so much food, but they're in that region if you think about it, right?
It could be, or it could be again, like you were talking about how those crossed over when they want to communicate with us. Maybe they don't do it via scent, maybe if you and I were just sitting together talking and suddenly I started tasting, I don't know, gingerbread cookies. And it was something I'd always done with my grandmother, something like that. Like that would
Right.
be an example of you obviously didn't just eat a gingerbread cookie, but you just tasted gingerbread cookies in your mouth. There's nothing there. So it's probably someone around you that's trying to get your attention or just say, I love you. I mean, a lot of times they do that just to drop by and say, hi, thinking of you. Like it's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, and they do that, and it's so much, and it's interesting. It doesn't even have to have a super meaning to it, but they're just like,
Sure.
yeah, just know. All
Yep.
right. So we have all those clairs, right?
That's all of our clairs. And then
All
our
right.
next item is mediumship.
Okay. So we'll do going into mediumship. We want to talk about psychic abilities, channeling and trans channeling, and
Mhm.
auric vision. So we'll go in that. All right. So
Okay.
which
So medium or channel is a person who allows their mind and body to be used as a conduit. Past souls use mediums to communicate messages from the incorporeal world into the physical world. This occurs because most often those passed on wish to convey a sense of peace or healing to those that are still here.
yes. Okay. Now that's interesting because I didn't realize that. I mean, I know when you channel, and I'm still learning, guys. So this is why I'm saying this. When you channel, I think I felt like I put the two separate when you're channeling a past or picking up a past loved one. I didn't necessarily say it's channeling, but I guess it is channeling, right? Because that's what I
Yes.
do. But
Yep.
it's putting there's so many different clairs, there's so many different things. You don't know who you call yourself in this and that. That's really another subject. But okay, so I like that. That's interesting. Let's talk about the trans channeling.
So trance channeling is a person who allows non-corporeal spirits to use them as a conduit. This spirit energy actually uses the physical body, taking over even motor functions and all necessary functions associated with physicality. When they start channeling, they are often notated for their voices changing. They can even raise or lower their voice, speak with different inflections, or use phrases that they normally do not.
That's fascinating. I really find that. Have you ever done that?
No, it's one of my boundaries.
Gotcha. I hear that.
I just don't want anybody else in my body but me.
Okay. Hey.
But there are some very successful trans channels that bring forth amazing light beings and beautiful messages of peace and hope. That's just my own personal thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's a little different. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. I do hear that. That's the first thing. Nope, not letting anybody take over my body. All right, cool. All right. Psychic. Did we do that? No. Medium and psychic.
Well, so for me, the word psychic is very broad because it encompasses all of these things that we have talked about so far.
Yeah.
And mediumship to me is specifically talking to those who have crossed over.
Gotcha.
And again, you know, these are abilities that can kind of come and go. They can kind of change for you. They can be easier at times, harder at times, those kinds of things.
Okay. Let's talk about auric vision, because now we have a lot of machines nowadays where people can go in and, you know, get their auras done and things like that. I hope it doesn't take away from a person who has that ability as well.
Well, we go about auric vision first and then talk about what the auric field is and how it changes. So auric vision is the ability to see the auric field, which surrounds the physical body. The bearer can see colors, wave fluctuations, and any or all obstacles. So my auric vision only stayed with me for just a few months. I've never had it long term. But when I did see it, it was really amazing. It was really pretty. And to that, like when you kind of go into energy work and you put a structure to what you are doing, you'll learn that the auric field, you know, about 6 inches away from your body, your physical body, that is the physical layer of your auric field. Then another 6 inches past that is the emotional layer. Another 6 inches past that is the mental layer. And another 6 inches past that is the spiritual layer. Now, that's a very simple formula because some people have a very big auric field. So it's not 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. It can be much bigger. And depending on what's going on in someone's life, let's say they have lost someone recently, their emotional body, right, is going to have a lot of action in it, a lot of movement in it. It might even be bigger than what it normally is, just because of what's happening in their life and what they're experiencing. So the aura changes all the time. I mean, you could be in a great mood, you're cooking, you're with your family or whatever, you get a phone call, everything changes. Now your whole auric field changed too. So taking a snapshot of your aura will only give you that exact moment in time. That's all it is. So not to discredit in any way, I'm not saying that it's bad. I mean, it's nice to still have that picture taken because the person who's doing your reading and helping you understand the colors can maybe give you a better insight as to what you are feeling that maybe you weren't aware of, or there were some influences. A lot of times angels will show up in auric photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I had an auric photo taken, this is a long time ago. It was so funny. I just done a colon cleanse and the aura around my colon was white. And I laughed so hard. I thought that was pretty humorous to me. I got a kick out of that one.
You're like, we're really showing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So the auric field is always in motion, but it is a series of beautiful colors that surround the body, almost like an egg shape.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that now. Really gonna
Okay.
have to look into that. All right. Now, oh, the last one I think we have is Reiki.
Yes. So the reason why Karla and I wanted to talk about Reiki today is because it's becoming more and more popularized. Like when yoga came out of the East and moved to the West, you know, and everybody's doing yoga. So Reiki is a discipline of, it's a structure, a class, if you will, a discipline, a technique that came out of Japan. Okay, so Reiki is spelled Reiki, and I'm going to give you a description.
Right.
Reiki is a Japanese technique for stress reduction and relaxation, which promotes healing. It is administered by a laying on of hands, which means you literally are using your hands, and is based on the idea that an unseen life force energy flows through us and was what causes us to be alive. If one's life force energy is low, then we are more likely to get sick or feel stress. If your life force energy is high, you're more likely of being happy and healthy. So the word Reiki is made up of two Japanese words. Rei, which means God's wisdom or higher power, and the word ki, which is life force energy. So Reiki actually translates spiritually guided life force energy. A treatment feels like a wonderful glowing radiance that flows through and around you. Reiki treats the whole person, including body, emotions, mind, and spirit, creating many beneficial effects that include relaxation, feelings of peace, security, and well-being. Many have reported miraculous results. Reiki is a simple, natural, safe method of spiritual healing and self-improvement that almost anyone can use. It has been effective in helping virtually every known illness or malady and always creates a beneficial effect. It works in conjunction with all medical or therapeutic techniques to relieve side effects and to promote recovery. While Reiki is not a religion, it is important to live and act in a way that promotes harmony with others. The founder, Mikao Usui, brought forth the Reiki healing system, a natural system recommended that one practice with simple ethics to promote peace and harmony, which is universal across all cultures.
Okay. Glad you had some like more clarification on that because I haven't looked it up. I've only had it done one time. It was interesting. I was like, wow, this is a trip.
Yeah. So Reiki, traditional Reiki follows 4 classes. It's Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3, and Reiki 4, which is known as the master level.
Okay.
So what you learn in Reiki 1 is how to do energy work for yourself. What you learn in Reiki 2 is how to do energy work for other people. What
Okay.
you learn in Reiki 3 is how to do energy work at a distance for other people. And then Reiki 4 gives you the master symbol, which pulls it all together. My teacher had us do 5,000 hours of service before she would give us our certificate. Nowadays, most teachers do not require anything like that.
Really?
So, but what's interesting about it is when you're doing Reiki, it is a structure. So it helps you to kind of literally feel the levels of the aura. So as you're coming through the auric field, you can almost just feel the delineation between the layers. It's a very fascinating. And again, if you have auric vision, then, oh my God, Reiki would be just another way to enhance that. But it's nice because it's an actual class that you can take to help understand what energy medicine is, how to use it, you know, and the whole class starts with intent. And the intent is peace, it's harmony, it's healing, and it's integrity, it's ethics. That's where you start. So it's a great way if you're thinking about going into energy medicine, you want to help others, or you just want to learn more about the biomagnetic field that surrounds the human body, Reiki is a great tool, a great class to take to further your understanding, because it puts a structure to something that's kind of challenging to structure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fascinating. I didn't even know how much Reiki background you had. That's cool. I'm learning
Yeah,
more.
I took it a long time ago. I was 20 something, 25, I don't know. So
Plan on doing it again?
I do it every day of my life. But I don't think of Reiki as Reiki anymore, because it might have been my foundation, but I was already doing energy work before I came to Reiki, and I've been doing energy work since I took Reiki. But what you'll learn as an energy worker is that over time, the type of energy work that you do evolves, just like your intuition. The more you honor it, the more you work with it, the more that comes through you. So, and from Reiki, I went into doing house blessings and land blessings, and, doing work with people that are dealing with heavy karma, and then soul retrievals. It gets further and further as you go along, as you understand what energy medicine is, and follow your intuition, honor your intuition, always stay integrity. I start every session with a prayer. I end every session with a prayer to make sure that it's love that's coming through. It's God that's coming through.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Right. So now that we have all those down, would you like to talk a little bit about how you use yours now, your clairs, or your what's happening right now with it, with your life? Like, how is it more mediumship? Is it more this? Is it more that? What's happening now that things always shift in our lives? There's always different things, always change. What seems to be pretty dominant for you right now?
Well, since I kind of came in this life open, and I've always had these abilities, and they've changed and developed over time, I kind of feel like now I have this giant tool basket. So it's like, if I'm talking to someone who needs more of this, my energy seems to go in that direction. The techniques and things that I've used when I do energy work is now all purely intuitive. I don't start out saying, oh, I'm going to do specifically this for this person, because everybody's different. Like, there's some people I've worked with for 10 and 15 years. Every session is different because they're changing. And what I'm doing is to meet the need of where they're at in that moment. But as far as psychic abilities, claircognizance is probably my most dominant, the inner knowing. Clairvoyance, probably my second, the visions. Clairaudience is probably tied with clairempathy, but I have most of these, not all of them. But again, it kind of fluctuates. It's been pretty steady recently. I mean, I haven't had a major change in my abilities in a long time, but certainly from 20 years ago to now, there's been a huge difference.
Okay.
How about for you? Have you found some evolution since you've been more open to doing this type of work, and as you've gone forward with the intent to help others?
I definitely, when it really first started, as far as really doing talking to more people in person, it started with the clairsentience, and I wasn't sure at the time what that was. I didn't know if it was somebody's spirit or somebody's loved ones. I just knew that when they came through, that it was something was around me, and it got stronger. Then I had a certain experience where I had the opportunity, and I found that I was picking up spirits. Now it's changed to where sometimes I'll get the feeling, and then I go ahead and check in. And if I see somebody, then I know. Now it's getting to the point, I'll get the body sense, and I'm like, I don't see anybody. So now I'm a lot of it could be their energy or spirit. So that's changing a little bit. Or it's not direct, or sometimes they just directly come in and there's no body feeling at all. So that's what I'm working with that right now. The sight, clairsentience, the clairvoyance, I get the claircognizance, and the clairempathy I get So now maybe you can help me understand what this is. So yesterday I had a situation, and I guess I was feeling her, like they say, we're all learning. I'm still learning. All of a sudden I got that her baby came through, and I not only got emotion, the emotion came before the baby came in. The emotion started coming. And I started to get like real, like, and I was trying to hold back because I came to work and I had my music on and I was jamming and everything. And then when I had this reading, I was like, damn, I wasn't going to cry today. But when her baby came, then I started crying. And then the message came through for her mom. So I don't know if that's a form of clair empathy. I'm assuming that is.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, great. So those are the ones that I roll with right now. I don't have the touching thing, the smelling thing, unless it's a warning again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are the ones I have. But I would like to channel or trans channel. That's what I would love to do. That's my next goal.
So one of the disclaimers that I kind of want to put out there, because after being in energy medicine for such a long time, and after living in the Sedona area for 15 years and seeing, intuitives of all abilities, intensities, intentionalities, I think when you're working in this realm of the intangible per se, I think it's really important to set boundaries.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, if you love God, if you don't want to call it God, I always call God God, but spirit, master creator, the great oneness, whatever you want to say. But as long as your intention is love, you need to set your intention that way. I will only work with people who are loving. I will only work with people that will promote love, so I think that's really important, because there are people in the world. This whole world is made of shadow and light and everything in between. I have met people who call themselves healers that work both in shadow and light and mix them together. No, just no.
I've heard of that where they're like,
No.
be careful. People that like even do Reiki, you don't know what's going on with their energy. So you have to be careful. But then how do you know someone who's just going and going, I want a Reiki session, I heard about this. How do you know?
Well, here is one of the main principles of Reiki. I'm going to show you. Can you see my hands?
Yeah.
Okay. Notice how one is pointing up and one is pointing down. This intent in Reiki means I receive the energy from God. I receive the energy from love. It comes through me. It is not of me, and it goes to you from God. Does that make sense?
So would you say, I mean, and everybody has their certain way of doing things, how they set up their Reiki. Would you say that's one of the things to look out for when people are having a Reiki session?
Yeah, I think that's the absolute top priority, is you can ask that person, whom do you work with? Meaning in spirit. I'm very clear with all of my clients. I work with God. I work with the archangels. I work with various phylums of angels, but the intent is always 100% pure love. That's always my intent. That's why I start with prayer, I end with prayer, but that's just me. Everybody does things different ways. But I love Reiki as a foundation because of that intent of it comes from God, it goes to you from God. It has nothing to do with me. If you are doing energy work and you are tired after a session, you're doing it wrong.
Really?
You're putting yourself in. You're not supposed to put yourself in. You're supposed to be an empty vessel. You're a messenger. You're a radio. That's all you are. If you're putting yourself in, you're allowing your ego to be too present in what you're doing. It's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. If someone comes to you for healing, it's about them, not you. So you need to get out of the way and let God come through, because God is capable of things that we will never be. So that's why I love Reiki. Comes from God to you. All I am is a radio, a conduit, a vessel. That's it. Nothing more.
And that was the
I'm
same
not
thing.
special. I don't create miracles. Nope. That's God's work. So when you can get your mindset straight and be humble in your work and know that you receive a blessing by doing the blessing for others, that's the miracle. You're part of the miracle. It's a gift for you to be part of the miracle. That's the energy. That's the attitude that needs to come. If you're doing healing work, you need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way. You should never be tired after an energy session. I am always energized. I'm always laughing. I make my clients, they always feel more peaceful, more centered. They typically sleep great for 3 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not me. But when they tell me these things, it tells me I did my job well.
Yes.
I got out of the way. I let God come through. So this is what I mean by boundaries, is that, you know, if you're watching this, you're probably not into shadow work. But so, you know, if you're working in the light, work in the light, but say it clear. I'm here to assist you from the intention of love. I'm here to support you in loving kindness. I'm here to bring peace to your life. Everybody that I work with energetically, they have to be at that frequency, at love. Everything less than love, nope, not welcome.
Ain't messing with it. So that would, so I would say that also applies when you're dealing with your psychic abilities, cards, whatever it is, anything that can apply to it, sound healing, all of that.
Yep. Every single day for probably at least a decade, if not longer, I was taught by the angels to always bless yourself. And for me, that's as simple as seeing, you know, a white light around me. And we talked about how in white light is every color. So there's always refractions or speckles of color. It almost looks like mother of pearl, right? Or opalescence. These are things that we know in gemstones that we would be able to see that. Imagine that white light around your whole body like a bubble, you know, with these essences of colors in there, you know, and you just say, I'm aligned to God. I'm aligned to love. And today that's all I promote. And that's all you have to say. And if you do that every single day of your life, it's going to be there. It'll just be like the same as you putting on a shirt. It's there every single moment of every day.
And that's cool because it keeps it simple for people too. Those like 3 words, that one sentence, because some people get caught up in, well, what do I do? How do I do it? Just do one simple thing every day, whatever that word is. And it doesn't have to be, you know, 10 sentences. It can be very simple.
I align to love. I choose love. I am love. I only interact with love. I mean, any of those things, all of those things will keep you in the clear, quite literally. So absolutely, you know, and if you have a tough working environment, do your little blessing over yourself before you go into work. And when you finish work, do it again, because you might have picked up all that energy from being around all these crazy people, or maybe a toxic person or a mean person, whatever's going on. Do those things. If you don't look forward to seeing your family at the holidays, some people do, some people don't. Again, put that energy bubble around you, that pure intent. I align to love, only love. I'll only receive love.
Yeah.
Be really clear. And then when you leave, do it again. Bless yourself again. And those things will help to keep you more stable emotionally, especially if you are an empath or a high level empath, where you pick up everybody else's feelings. You need to keep blessing yourself, because you have to figure out that everybody else's parts go back to them and all of your parts come back to you. You can still love them. You'll have a heart cord, but bless yourself so that you can separate your emotions back out from other people, because high level empaths can get frustrated quickly and they get tired sometimes, but it's because they're feeling everybody else's feelings and forgot to separate back out.
Yeah. Once you, and the two, once you understand that, it does make more sense, you know? So we should, next time, I think we'll go into clearing ourselves, doing prayers, what could be a simple setup for you for the day and every day, and when you're doing clients. That'd be a good subject, because a lot of people ask that question.
Yeah. And we can go over house blessings. For the number one request that I've gotten in 25 years is, how do I bless my house?
And it's
so I can go over that.
Yeah, and it's a pretty simple thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Cool beans. Well, thank you again for coming on. This is awesome. You are such a wealth of information.
Well, I'm going to give that credit to God.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. I mean, it's awesome. And I every time you speak about something, I learn something.
Oh, thank you. I think every conversation we have, we learn something, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, everybody is a teacher and everybody is a student.
Yeah. And like you say, be humble, because we don't know everything, but
Nope.
we're learning as steps go. And this is part of, I feel like this is probably one of the most humbling experiences in my life, really, because you are dealing with people, and you're out there sharing. We all kind of know we want to help people, but it's like, how do we help people? And we do every day in a certain aspect, but it's just being confident in your abilities, but again, being humbled by it, you know?
Well, it's a privilege and it's an honor to work with people, especially their emotional body. Our society doesn't really teach us about how to manage our emotional bodies. There's nowhere in school. You learn math, science, all this other stuff, but you certainly don't manage emotional body management. Where does that come into play?
Well, they
No
want
one
us to
teaches you
disconnect
that.
from it. Like
Yeah.
emotions, disconnect from your emotions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we've been taught.
And it's the opposite. That's why I always call this place upside down land, because your emotions are your navigation system.
Yes.
So if you turn them off, you're flying your plane blind, which is not helpful to you at all. So I think when someone comes to us, they're coming to us because they're vulnerable. They're coming to us because they need help, because they need a resource. So our job is to get out of the way, ask God for help. The information, your intuition, my intuition comes from God. It comes from love. That's where it comes from. Especially if you keep aligning yourself to that every single day, multiple times a day, you are aligning to love. So that information is coming through you. But it is a blessing to be able to be of service to someone else.
Yes.
And that's, us holding that space of loving kindness for someone who comes to us in need and vulnerability. It is our privilege and honor to do that. And again, I think this is where those blessings come back to us all the time in different ways, So, I mean, I can, like, having you in my life, having friends around you that truly love you, truly see you for the gift that you are. That is a blessing. That keeps happening to me. I'm surrounded by beautiful people because every day I try to put as much love out as I possibly can. I feel like I get it back. It comes back.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does, and it has, and it'll keep continuing. All right, lady, thank you. We will do it again, and we'll come up with some more subjects. But I think you'll give a clearing and kind of preparing yourself to do readings and getting you for preparation for that. So I think that would be a cool subject.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right, honey. I will see you soon, actually, tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Love you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself.
Okay. Bye.